Hi guys, so we're going to go over the semester 2 review part 1. Okay, so number 1 says identify the property of equality that justifies the missing step to solve the given equation. So we have to look at what part we're missing. So we're missing this step right here. Okay, and so what it's asking us to do is we need to look at the equation right before it to see how we got to this spot. Okay, so we look at 4x plus 8 equals 84, and then from there we got 4x equals 76. So how did we get from the equation 2 to equation 3? Okay, so it looks like we subtracted 8 from both sides, so that property would be the subtraction property of equality. Okay. Number 2, it says, what is the solution to the equation 5x minus 3 times the quantity 5x plus 10 minus 14 equals 82 minus 12? So we have to solve for x. That's our goal. So right here, I see that I could already distribute the negative 3 into the parentheses. And remember, the order of operations tells us to do parentheses first. So after we do that, we're going to get 5x. And then negative 3 times 5x is going to give me negative 15x. Negative 3 times 10 is negative 30. And then we just bring everything else down as is. And so on the left side of my equal sign, I see that I can combine some like terms. I see that I can combine 5x minus 15. And that's going to go ahead and give me a negative 10x. And then I could do negative 30 minus 14. Okay, and remember, when they're the same sign, you add and keep the sign. So that's going to give me a negative 44. And then again, just bring down everything else as is. Now we could start moving terms to the other sides, to their corresponding parts. So I'm going to go ahead and add 12x to both sides. Okay, that's going to give me 2x minus 44 equal 82. And now I can add 44 to both sides. And that's going to give me 2x equals 126. When I divide both sides by 2, that gives me x equals 63. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay, for number 3, what is the solution to the inequality 11x plus 9 is greater than or equal to 10x minus 5? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this. So same thing, we just have to move the corresponding terms to the other sides, or to their corresponding sides. So I'm going to subtract 10x here. That's going to give me x plus 9 is greater than or equal to negative 5. I can go ahead and subtract 9. And that's going to give me x is greater than or equal to negative 14. For number 4, what is the solution to the inequality 14x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 3 times the quantity 9 plus 5x? So again, I know that right away I have to distribute. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this first. You don't have to rewrite it, I just am to give me more space. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 3. But first, I can go ahead and bring the 14x minus 4 is greater than or equal to down. And when I do 3 times 9, that's going to give me 27. And then 3 times 5x will give me plus 15x. So then let's go ahead and subtract 15 on both sides. The 15x, I'm sorry. So that's going to give me a negative x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 27. I can add 4 to both sides, and that'll give me negative x is greater than or equal to 31. And remember, when I have a negative sign in front of a variable, that means I can divide both sides by a negative 1, because that's technically a that's technically a 1 in front of the x. So I'm going to go ahead and divide -1 on both sides. But the important part to remember is we're dealing with an inequality here. And when we have an inequality symbol and I divide or multiply by a negative, that means that I have to switch that inequality sign. So when I divide, I get x, and then we're going to flip the sign to be less than or equal to now. And that's just going to give me -31, because +31 divided by -1 is -31. So x is less than or equal to -31 is my final answer. For 5, what is the solution to the equation 7 to the x equals 343? So we just have to think about 7x equals 343. We have to think about, okay, 7 to the what power is going to give me 343? So what we can do, we can go ahead, take our base, okay, 7 to the x equals, and then we find the same base, but 7 to the what power is going to give me 343. So then I can pull out my calculator here, okay, and you can, oops, give me a sec, and you can kind of just play around with this. 7 squared, 49, that's not big enough. 7 to the third, okay, that gives me 343. So I know that this is going to be 7 to the third power, and so that tells me, okay, x is going to equal 3 because that is the exponent that I need to get 7 to what power gives me 343. So x equals 3. Okay, for number 6 says, which graph represents the solution to this system? So we have 3x plus y equals -10, and then we have -x plus 3 equals 0. So first we want to go ahead and put these into slope-intercept form. So for the first one, this is going to be y equals -3x minus 10. And then the second one is going to be, it's going to give me, if I move the x to the other side first, divide both sides by 3, y is going to equal 1/3x. So those are my two equations that I'm working with now. So a helpful tool to use to figure out which graph represents it is to find the slope and y-intercept. So the slope for the first one is -3, and the y-intercept is -10. For the second one, my slope is 1/3, but I don't have that plus b part. So my y-intercept is just 0. Okay, so one helpful tool first to look for, we should look for the y-intercepts first. So if I look at A does give me, okay, sure, both intercepts are at 0, 0 and -10. Okay, for B, 0, -10 as well. C, 0, -10, but D is actually at +10 and 0. So right away, I can go ahead and cross off D as answer choice. Okay. Then we have to look at the slopes. So if I zoom in on A, I can go ahead and I can pick a point. We could just go ahead and pick the point 0, 0. And then this point looks to be about on the grid. And that line, since that's at 0, 0, that's going to be my blue line. Okay. I probably could actually pick a better point. Let me pick a better point. I could pick right here. I'm sorry. That's actually a closer point, which would alleviate some of the issues of reducing. So if I go ahead and look at the distance between those 2 points, I could go up 1 and over 3. And remember, up is +1 and over to the right is positive, and that's 3, okay? So remember, up or down deals with the numerator, left or right deals with the denominator. And now let's go ahead and look at the other line to see if the slope matches up, and we want a slope of -3. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick 2 good points for that one. We could start at -10, okay? And then this looks to be about a good point as well. So we go up 3, which is positive, But then to the left one gives me a -1, and that just reduces to be -3. And those two slopes actually right off the bat match our slopes to our answer, so our answer for 6 is going to be A. Okay, so number 7 then says, tickets to the concert cost $5 for adults and $2.50 for children. A group of 17 people went to the concert and paid $57.50 for tickets. How many adult tickets were purchased and how many children's tickets were purchased? So we want to go ahead and look at what is given to us first. So it says right here that the cost is $5 for adults and $2.50 per children. And so before we even start anything, we can identify the adults as X and the children as Y. So X is going to deal with the adults. And then Y will deal with the children. Okay, so right away we can go ahead and say 5A. I'm sorry, not 5A, 5X for $5 per adult. And then plus 2.50Y for the children. And then they purchased them for a total of $57.50. So we can set that equal to $57.50. Okay. The second part of this that's super important is there was a group of 17 that went to the concert, okay? And if we're trying to figure out how many adult tickets to purchase and how many children's tickets to purchase with a group of 17 people, we can go ahead and set that up as X plus Y for adults plus children. And that's going to equal 17 for 17 total people. So now we can go ahead and either do not process of elimination. We can either do elimination or substitution. In this case, we can do elimination because all we would have to do is we would just have to multiply one of the equations by a certain number. Well, if I look at the variables X, that's super easy to get the same. But remember, for elimination, we want to go ahead and get the opposite sign as the coefficient that we're trying to cancel out with the variable, because then that cancels them out. So we can multiply this whole thing by -5. And so when I do that, that's going to give me -5x minus 5y equals -85. And then I can go ahead and just bring that top equation over. And so remember, for elimination, these variables with 5 and -5 cancel out. And so we kind of just add both of these equations together. And hence why those cancel out. 5x plus a -5x, that cancels out to be 0. 250y plus a -5y is going to give me a -250y equals -27.5. So I can go ahead and divide both sides by -250. And that's going to give me y equals 11. So we just found the total number of children that went, okay? So we just found the total number of children. So y equals 11, so that would be 11 children. And now we have to figure out how many adults went, and that's super simple. We could just take that original equation of x plus y equals 17, substitute the 11 in for y, because we already know how many children there were 11, and we can just solve for x, which gives us the adults. So I can go ahead and subtract 11 on both sides, and that gives me x equals 6. So I know that there were 6 adults. Sorry, I might have just said children. So if I said children, I didn't mean it. That was not right. We were looking for adults there. There we go. So 6 adults, 11 children. Okay, moving on to number 8. It says, what is the solution to the system? Y equals 3x minus 6 and 3x minus y equals 60. So we can use substitution here. And since I have a y equals, I could take what specifically y equals, which is 3x minus 6, and substitute that in for y into the other equation. So we're going to take 3x minus, and where that y is, I'm going to substitute that with 3x minus 6, and then equals 60. So I have 3x here, but I have to distribute that negative sign. So that's going to change into negative 3x and plus 6 equals 60. Okay, when I have 3x minus 3, that actually cancels each other out because that gives me 0. So then I'm left with 6 equals 60. Well, is that a true statement? Does 6 equal 60? So you think to yourself, no, that doesn't, which is false. So this would actually be no solution. So there is no solution to this system of equations. No number will possibly work to make these equations true. That's what that means. Okay, for number 9. Number 9, we have 2x minus 5y equals negative 54. X plus 5y equals 63. So I see right away that the best method to use would be elimination because those two variables actually cancel out right away. So if I have 2x plus 5y, minus 5y. Let's start over. So 2x minus 5y equals negative 54, and then x plus 5y equals 63. Those cancel out, and so I know I'm going to go ahead, since they're opposite signs, I can add. So remember, if they have opposite signs, you add, same sign, subtract. So if I go ahead and add, I get 3x equals 9. Divide both sides by 3. So that's going to give me x equals 3. Well, I'm not totally done yet because I still have to find y. And the best one to probably substitute that in for is that second equation. So I'm going to take that second equation of x plus 5y equals 63. And I could just go ahead and substitute that 3 in for x. So that's going to be 3 plus 5y equals 63. Subtract 3 on both sides. That gives me 5y equals 60. Divide by 5 on both sides, and that gives me y equals 12. So in order for me to get the correct answer, I have to put this in an ordered pair, which would be 3, 12. Okay. Okay, number 10 says the histogram below represents which data set. Okay, so all we have to do is just look at how many of each number there are. So if I look at 85, that shows me that I have 3 of them. So I have 3 85s. Okay. I have 3 90s. I have 2 105s. And then, oops, I'm sorry. 2 110s. 1 115. 1 120. And then lastly, let's see, what color should I use? We'll use this orange, I guess. And then what is that? 3 130s. Okay, so we can kind of just glance at this. Right off the bat, I could tell that, okay, it's not going to be C because that's not enough data points. Okay, so then we kind of just go through each. So A has 1, 2, 3, 4 85s. Well, right away, I know that's not correct because I actually only have 3 of them. So I'm going to look at B, 1, 2, 3 85s, good. 1, 2, 3 90s, okay. 2 105s, 2 110s, 1 15, 1 115, sorry. 120. Oh, I used the wrong color. We have 1 120. And then we have 3 130s, which is what we have above. So our answer is B. We can just take a look at D just to make sure. Okay, 1, 2, 3 85s, which looks good. And then actually only 2 90s, so that is why D is incorrect. So our answer is B for number 10. For number 11, it says, look at the data